Conservative leader Andrew Scheer is facing a major political test. Amid lagging poll numbers, there are now serious rumblings behind the scenes from party members questioning his ability to lead. This morning, we're asking if populist forces are dividing the Conservative Party. It all started with this.
I don't need any more education. I've been involved since we double dated when I was 15 with an Aboriginal fellow and his wife.
That's former Conservative Senator Lynn Beyak, Conservative Senator. Scheer turfed her from his caucus recently for what he called racist letters about residential schools from supporters that she'd put on her website. Beyak responded with a blistering attack on Scheer, saying he's inexperienced and hampered by political correctness. Ouch, it was a declaration of political war. It's a really big deal. This is Beyak, who says she is representing Canadians' real opinions here. So, is this very public split a sign that populism could once again threaten party unity? Beyak's been pushing buttons on Indigenous issues for a while, arguing, quote, some good came out of residential schools.
She doesn't accept the findings of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and that's unfortunate. And she's hurting people that have suffered needlessly for too long.
After the public outcry, and there was a lot of it, Scheer kicked Beyak out of his caucus. She responded by posting a free speech manifesto. The freedom to talk about controversial issues is a big deal for a lot of Conservatives. In fact, Andrew Scheer campaigned on free speech. Still, he seems to have his limits when it comes to what you can say. Could that have something to do with his poll numbers? In a poll taken before Scheer tossed Beyak from the Tory caucus, it showed him lagging 26 points in likability, way behind Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. If Scheer is going to win the next election, he needs to appeal to the centre to try to win over some right-leaning Liberals. The Conservatives, they've been united for almost 20 years now. You might not remember, but before that, they were split. Preston Manning's Reform Party championed populist issues, and they sometimes got in trouble too. I have some memories of this because I was a reporter on the Hill covering that party, like at this Reform conference where they were accused of intolerance.
Anti-gay, Reform Party bigot, whoa, wait, racist, sexist, anti-gay.
With the large crowds comes more scrutiny. People are starting to look beyond the party's phenomenal growth to what it stands for. After years of criticizing the three big federal parties, the Reform Party is learning what it's like to be one of them. But it was the late 80s, early 90s. Everyone had, well, maybe not. Anyway, it was 1991, and the Reform Party broke apart the Conservatives, the Conservative movement, really. Stephen Harper eventually reunited the right. But now, can Andrew Scheer keep them together? Joining me is Rick Anderson. He was Preston Manning's chief strategist, not at that conference, but a little later. You saw there's been so many debates among Conservatives over the years. Gay marriage, abortion, NECAB, now something on residential schools. What do you think? Did Andrew Scheer make the right call here?
I think he did, but he has to be careful not to go so far down the path of limiting free speech that the party membership starts to feel frustrated by that, or voters at large start to feel frustrated by that. But at the same time, he does need to make sure the party presents a more inclusive, open, diverse face to the Canadian public, and he's working on both of those things. So
your old boss, Preston Manning, I read an old quote of him where he said that it's kind of like managing a rogue well. You let off some steam, but not let it blow up. I mean, how do you find the line? That's the tough part about politics and about leadership generally. You know, the Americans have, in some ways, a stronger sense of a stronger philosophy about this. They use the phrase, the answer to free speech, the remedy to free speech that you don't like is more speech. You know, that you talk those things out. Preston Manning used to talk about how when somebody said something, you know, quotes unquote, inappropriate in a meeting, instead of the politician slamming them down, call upon the rest of the room, call upon the rest of the voters of the electorate to say, do people agree with this? And steer the conversation, inform the conversation, but don't just shut it down, because if you just shut it down, it goes and finds another outlet. And sometimes that's an even darker way of proceeding, and it festers than if you just actually confront these things and talk them through. So where is this now? Because Lynn Beyak is obviously feeling she's got some support here. This is quite something for a senator to come out and attack her leader and be kicked out. How much support does she have? Who's winning this fight?
you know, nobody's winning this particular fight in that regard. Senator Beyak will have a lot of sympathy in the party on the question of free speech. She won't in terms of attacking the leader personally. He's trying to balance things out. You know, before she was removed from the caucus, she was asked to remove the offensive letters from her website. She refused. You know, so she's getting into a back and forth with the leader, which I think will probably frustrate people. But the point that she's making about free speech, I think, is an important one for the party and for the country. And, you know, I particularly feel, you know, I used to be a Liberal. You know, the Liberal Party tends to shut these debates down. You know, if you're a pro-life person, you're not welcome as a candidate, you're not welcome in the caucus. I don't think that's healthy either. So all the parties have their versions of struggling with these things.
Almost out of time, but 2 years from now, next election, will Andrew Scheer still be the Conservative leader?
I think so. I think he'll be the Prime Minister.
Well, we'll see. 2 years to go.
Listen,
it's a good debate.
2 years ago, it was easy to find people who never thought Justin Trudeau would be Prime Minister.
That's true.
And now, you know, he can do no wrong.
Well, your hair hasn't changed. Rick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rick Anderson.